Robert, thank you. So my name is John Tedstone. I'm the Director of Sales for the Merchants and Installer channel for Mixergy. So Mixergy is a startup business based on the Oxford University Technical Innovation Fund. Started back in 2014 and gradually built up lots and lots of clever ideas to revolutionise the way we heat our hot water in the home. So rather than heat a whole cylinder of hot water, we actually have moved the coil and the immersion heat to the top of the cylinder. We've integrated the use of a solar PV module into the cylinder, as well as all the cylinders being heat ready. So the way the cylinder works is it brings hot water, cold water in from the bottom. It goes through a series of pipes internally to the top of the cylinder. The water is atomised into the hot layer of water that's on the top. Over a 2-week period of use initially, the cylinder will actually start to understand the usage pattern of the hot water within the property. So that, rather than 300 litre cylinder, for example, and heat the whole thing, you might only use 100 litres on a Tuesday, 200 litres on a Wednesday, 300 on a Thursday, and then 50 litres on a Friday. And the cylinder will actually just heat that amount of hot water for you. The beauty of the cylinder is, because you can actually put solar PV into it, you can actually use a preheat. So rather than use a gas boiler or the oil boiler or your direct electric, as it were, the solar PV will heat as much as obviously energy that's available. So provide that absolute no use of fossil fuel at all in height of the summer as we probably are today. And then for the future transition away from gas or oil boilers to heat pumps, all of the cylinders are heat pump ready. So everyone comes with 2 bosses and we can supply a heat pump module to go on the bottom, which is a 3 square metre plate heat exchanger, a small pump, just to integrate the heat pump. So it's like a transitional product away from gas or oil to heat pumps, or you can use a direct electric model to put a heat pump straight onto the cylinder. Energy saving trust verified, up to about 20% saving on gas as an indirect cylinder, and can save up to 40% of the cost of the hot water within the property. We just need to sell more, and we just need to be more aware, the people need to be more aware of the technology against the traditional done direct or indirect cylinder.
Give us the name of it again.
Mixergy.
Mixergy, we've heard it here. Okay, fantastic. Thanks, John. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Hello.
Cue the microphone there, that's great.
I'm going to speak really slowly so you all understand what I'm saying. So my name's James and I'm from a company called Shower Save. We do wastewater heat recovery. Now you think about any sort of building you may have, be that residential or commercial, they've all got one thing in common, and that's a great big hole in the floor that we just throw hot water down continuously while we're showering. With Shower Save, what you do is you use the waste shower water to preheat the incoming cold water and then feed that back to your system, so that could go back to your cylinder, your combi boiler, and back to the cold side of the shower. This works in a variety of different building types, be that residential houses, apartments, swimming pools, leisure centres, hotels. Wherever you've got a shower going in and you require hot water, a Shower Saver going in. We've been going since 2008 when it was first developed, and today we've had 150,000 installations, so really taken off. With the recent changes to Part L building regulations, which changed last week, or the transition period ended last week, we've seen a massive uptake in them. So I'd estimate around sort of 80% of all new build properties will be using wastewater heat recovery going forward. The technology itself is a really easy, simple bit of kit to install. There's no specialist requirements or training to install Shower Save, and a majority of our products there's no maintenance required either. So you can fit it, forget about it, and never need to worry about it, which makes it a really reliable, good bit of kit that we can all use, and it will save a lot of energy, carbon, and ultimately a lot of money on the hot water bills.
Thank you, James. That's Shower Save.
That's the one.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, hello again. I'm Paul Groves, I'm from EcoDuct. We actually do a very simple product, and there it is. So you'll all be familiar, I hope, with Bruce Willis crawling through the ductwork at Die Hard, which is a metal rectangular ductwork, and and then that ductwork requires insulation on the outside. So what EcoDuct is a pre-insulated non-metallic ductwork. So we fabricate the insulation in such a way, and it's a very specialized insulation product, phenolic insulation product. So we fabricate the insulation in such a way that it actually forms the ductwork. So there's no metal, so it's about 85% lighter and performs optimally in every respect, in terms of fire, in terms of airflow efficiency, in terms of thermal efficiency. So it's a very simple product, which is highly innovative, which is hard to believe in this sector, but it is very innovative. And in terms of energy saving, the use of EcoDuct generates up to 45% saving in the operation of the HVAC, which is substantial. But the question is that significant? How significant is that in terms of the overall situation? And AECOM did a study, and they worked out that 30%, up to 30% of the 30-year life cycle costs of any building is related to HVAC, up to 30%, which means we can save up to 13.5% in total if you take 45% or 30% up to. And if you compare that to the go-to energy saving, which is like typically LED lighting, which will save up to 1.2% if you're lucky, it gives you an indication of the potential for a product like EcoDuct. So it's a huge potential saving for actually a very simple but clever product. And there's a PS. The PS is we also save about 75% of the embodied carbon. There's a 75% reduction in embodied carbon. So not only is there a huge saving in terms of operational carbon, but also a significant saving in embodied carbon as well. And there are about 500 other benefits which I won't be allowed to go into now. Thank you. It's Paul Groves and it's EcoDuct.
Thanks, Paul. That's great. Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the Managing Director of Halcyan Water Conditioners. You probably, if you live in a hard water area, are already familiar with the hard, crusty, ugly stuff that's wrapped around your showers and your taps. So I follow in the train of the hot water fellows to my right. But that hard, crusty stuff, limescale, what we don't know is, as well as being just a damn nuisance, it's also a really good insulator. And what's the last thing you want around your hot water elements? Insulation. Every 1 millimetre of limescale on any heating element is adding 7 to 10% to its energy consumption. Now, if you're in a hard water area, given it's a natural process, you don't have 1 millimetre because it's merrily building up. Every time you bring more hot water or more water into your boiler, you're adding more minerals. So over time, that's building up millimetre by millimetre and making your boilers, whatever they are, domestic, commercial or industrial, increasingly inefficient. Now, over 60% of the UK is supplied with hard water, so that's a huge amount of our hot water systems, because we really treat very few of them. This little device here, and its many big brothers, but this little device is our domestic unit. And how this works is we simply temporarily change the structure of the calcium carbonate that creates the limescale, so that while it's travelling through your system, it's not sticking. If it's not sticking, you have no problem. And so we're stopping that process, that accumulation process of limescale on your hot water elements in its tracks. The really nice thing is that once that water starts flowing through, it will also start to remove the existing limescale throughout the system. So we can clean off boilers, we can clean thermostatic valves, we can clean out kitchens and and bathrooms and get them back into good working order. And that's really important because, as my colleague here said, you've got wasted operational energy, but you've also got wasted embodied carbon. We want the boilers to be lasting twice as long. We want washing machines to last longer so that we're not wasting huge amounts of carbon as well as burning vast amounts of unnecessary operational energy. The Halcyan unit is really as simple as it looks. It's clever, but it's really simple. And the units come with, in the domestic sector, a 30-year warranty. They're currently doing 40 and 50 years in industry. So it's properly a fit and forget. It also takes humans out the equation. And let's face it, with most systems, we're the weak spot. So if we're not involved, it's going to be able to just keep on doing what it does. So we treat the water for the longest of any of the water conditioning systems, and And we make sure that whatever that system is, it's not being damaged by limescale, whether that's new systems or retrofit. We can clean out old and we can protect new. And it's an area that we're really not talking about, and we're really trying hard to raise awareness of these huge amounts of wasted energy. When you think that 14% of a household's domestic energy is used heating their hot water, how much of that is being wasted through limescale? With one of these fellas, we had a carbon expert do some figures. He reckons an average UK home is going to be saving about 0.5 of a tonne of CO2 equivalent per annum over a 30-year period. That equivalent to about £400 to £500 a year in savings over that 30-year period. So it's not small fry, but we want to start talking about that. So that's Sam from Halcyan Water Conditioners.
Thank you so much for saying. All right, you introduced yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name's Simon and I'm the inventor and the owner of Chimella, the chimney umbrella. About 12 years ago now, I was on the roof of my house seeing what the builders hadn't done, and I was leaning over the chimney to actually write down something on the chimney and felt the heat coming out of the chimney. And we'd spent thousands of pounds insulating the house and lots of money on new energy efficient products within the house, and I was devastated to find how much heat was actually going out of the chimney. When I started to do some investigation on it, one chimney came up to 15 times a day, take all the air out of your house. So that basically led me on the path of inventing Chimella, the chimney umbrella. Basically it's designed to put it on the inside of your chimney from down below. One push of a button, it goes up the chimney, it seals off the chimney, and instantly saves you wasting all that heat from your central heating. So there's no point spending thousands and thousands of pounds on new central heating, really good insulation, heat pumps, etc., if you've still got a great big hole in the roof. So what we do is we basically say that it's like filling up a bath. If you want a nice warm bath, you need to put the plug in it, you need to fill the holes, and your house is exactly the same. And what we feel here, like with decarbonisation, everybody seems to be looking at all the really expensive items rather than looking at the small items which we all have on here, which make a huge difference. So air and water will always find the path of least resistance. So, you know, having 2 or 3 feet thick insulation isn't going to make any difference if you've got big holes inside. The same if you've got a great big hole in the roof. It's like having a window open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All the little things that you can do are going to make a huge difference to retaining the heat within the house, and that's how we're going to start saving money. So, Chimella the chimney umbrella, my name's Simon Weil. It's a fantastic product, it's simple, it's easy. With millions and millions of chimneys in the UK, it's almost a criminal offence that over the last 30 years, nobody has been mentioning the big hole in the roof as an energy heat loss.
We have now, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, hand the microphone over.
No.
Go on.
No. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, so my name is Paul. I'm from a company called Gapogroup, who actually make and manufacture Gapo tape. Brief overview is, if many of you or any of you recognise what this is, it's a polyisolate rigid board insulation. There's a chap with a Kingsman shirt over there, one of the biggest manufacturers of it. But in brief, there's £500 million of this sold in the UK every year, and unfortunately it will arrive on site and either you, me or your contractors, who are many in this room, will try to install it as tight as they can. But if you put it under a microscope, you'll start to see tiny incremental gaps will appear along the inside of the boards when they're being installed. Now, gaps cause big issues. We've heard a lot of numbers thrown about here today, and we're a big number as well, and it's really high. It's an 80% loss in the actual performance of a rigid panel. So, in brief, all we do is we make and manufacture rolls of memory foam material which go down the side of the insulation panel, a release paper. Here we go, thank you. So yeah, there we go. So someone get a picture and I'll put that on Twitter later. And you peel back the wings and then it sticks along the side of the insulation panel like so. So what you have is a nice flexible edge on your rigid panel, which you then friction fit between your panel, your rafters, sorry. And over time, when your building is heated and your rafters shrink and move, and your builder's already fecked off with his money in his pocket,
your installation will continue to keep an airtight thermal seal and thus return the full U value of the rigid board. So following on there with what James has said, we've just made it into Part L as well, as of 2 weeks ago. So this is now a mandatory. If you are using a rigid insulation product, you now have to use a compressible tape to seal the edges to make sure that you're Part L compliant. So we are going after it. It is an easy win, and like I say, it's about, I think, a combination of us all. I shouldn't be leaving this over to you, but so I'll shut up. We're Gapo Tape. Come and have a chat later if you need more information.
Brilliant. I hope you appreciated my demonstration there as well. Thank you all for that. And again, every time I do this panel, when everyone speaks, it just sounds like, oh my gosh, that's a no-brainer. Why doesn't everybody do this? So perhaps I could ask you all why you feel you are an unsung hero. Why are your products not just out there with everybody in every home doing what they're doing?
Well, I don't mind jumping in first on that one. Very simple. It's all down to specification. A lot of, how would you say, the easiest way is if something's in, it's assumed to be doing something right, and no one's really taking, how would we say, a proper look at how things are being installed. We were at the installer show, and I'm walking around and I can see failures at install at the show. So it's about just knowledge, it's about educating the masses and sort of, highlighting the problem, because a lot of the problems have been assumed good, therefore there's no need to correct what's already in place.
So it's education, but one of the things is education. For example, why isn't yours everywhere?
So, I mean, there's a lot of history with chimneys as well, and you know, I'm not a chimney man per se. It's just basically, it's just a great big area in the house, like a big hole in the roof. And one of the reasons that chimneys have sort of been ignored is because of ventilation. And people sort of think that if you have good ventilation in your house, that it's a good thing. Well, that's okay if you're not spending lots and lots of money on your heating bills, which we all are at the moment. So why waste it? So back in the day, without going into too much history about it, we used to burn some pretty bad stuff on the fireplace. We used to burn soft coal, which was deadly. We used to burn town gas, which was deadly. You know, the old thing, if you put your head in the oven, you're not going to come out. That was true. And so that sort of, nobody wants to tackle that area. So people have just ignored it. And it's all down to education, like Paul says. But you've also got people that are stuck in their ways with building regulations. And because it's just been ignored, people haven't been pushed to do it. Also, people have ulterior motives. You know, if you're going to sell products that cost £20,000-30,000 to get a house to the next energy ban, why would you want the cheap fixes? If you're in a business to sell products and make money, you're going to be selling the most expensive items. To be honest with you, a lot of the expensive items are all fantastic in their own right, but they don't work efficiently to hit the figures that they're telling you they will if you've got big holes in the roof. So insulation and draft proofing are the major things which seem to be put to one side as not important. They are important. You know, it's basically filling up the bath. You put a plug in it, you not put a plug in it.
Takes a long time to fill without the plug, doesn't it?
Well, it's just not going to happen, and that's exactly the same with your house.
Samantha, with regard to yours, I mean, another question I would also want to ask you is it something that can only put in new homes, or is it something you can do like a retrofit, install that?
Okay, so that one first of all, this little fella doesn't mind where you put it. It's very, very easy going. So he'll go happily in a new build, keep you all nice and shiny and up to spanky design standards in a new build, but he'll just as comfortably go in an old property, and once that's installed, he'll just gradually, or she, whichever you prefer, gradually dissolve away. So a very good retrofit, gets old systems back into good order. Going back to the point about barriers, I think with us one of the issues is water, first of all. Nobody talks about water. Happened until the last couple of years when we started to discuss it because of scarcity. But water's cheap, so we've ignored it. Mention the water energy nexus and how much energy it costs to produce water, run it round and all the rest. Non-discussion. What, with the water companies talking about it in the last year, maybe? So education, yes. But I think the awareness has been there for a long time. People have known my little stat, the 1 millimetre equals 7 to 10% increase in energy. British Water came out with that, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, but it hasn't been picked up, it hasn't been sexy. Frankly, limescale isn't sexy, so it's not an easy topic to get on the agenda. think it's partly that the big players aren't interested, it's not a big money spinner necessarily, but I also think government has been doing what it always does, and that's cherry picking off one or two things that it thinks it can quickly make a difference with, not helpfully switching between them from time to time, but going for one or two easy solutions and failing to understand that actually houses are whole systems and there's many things going on in there, and failing to actually look in more detail, take the hard route actually, and really investigate what all the possibilities are. We've met a number of surveyors today who are now doing that. You know, we're seeing assessments being made, people looking at what are the different things a householder can do, what are the different ways, you know, you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. For me, the exciting part of sitting here with these solutions is that we're not £15,000, we're not £25,000 to insulate the entire exterior of your property, we're not a large amount of money for a heat pump. And let's face it, behavioural change, which is what we're asking people to do, we're asking people to invest their time and their money and their faith in changing what they do and spending their money. Nobody's going to do that overnight. You know, I don't ask you to marry me on the first date, I ask you for a cup of coffee, you know, and so, do you know what I mean? People want small things to do. They want to be able to try something, be successful at that, and then they go, oh, okay, that was a good move. I tried the shower save, and that saved me some money. I'll go and try a Chimella. And gradually build confidence in our public that actually there's a lot of ways they can do this. And we're just failing dismally. This is the first panel I've sat on where actually this topic's come up successfully, so it's quite exciting.
Barriers that you're facing then, Paul, as well?
Well, all that's been said is relevant to us as well, but just quickly on air tightness, because we're all concerned about air tightness. Just air tightness on ductwork, and Mott MacDonald did a study, and from a Class D, which is a completely airtight duct, which is what EcoDuct is, where the loss per annum for a very simple ductwork system was just below £1,000. A Class A system which leaks like a sieve, like one of your untreated chimneys, the cost was just under £25,000. So from £25,000 down to under £1,000, just the cost of leaking energy, basically. So the cost of air leaking, in whatever context, is huge, massive saving. But our barriers to entry really have been education. People have had a 100-year relationship with metal ductwork. And that relationship implies a whole lot of things which they say makes them reluctant to change. And quite a few of the engineers, why should I change? I've worked with metal for 40 years, and what's the point? So there's a big education process. There's a reluctance to adopt change and to adopt innovation. And so there's a kind of a myriad of reasons we find. And so the education process, this is a very important part of that education process, and trying to make the most of getting the word out into the market. And the other thing you mentioned is water isn't sexy. Well, ductwork, trust me, it's a hidden away building commodity. It's the most unsexy thing in the world. It just isn't prominent. It just isn't in the eye. But that's going to change and has to change because we make a big difference.
And so, water isn't sexy. But the showers are, aren't they? There are lots of movies.
And I'm in it, yes.
Stop it.
So it depends on how you shower and who it's with, I suppose. Yeah, I think a barrier that shower save is faced in a certain way, which may be changing hopefully now, is I suppose a little bit of negligence. You know, the regulations ask you to do X, Y, and Z. You do X, Y, and Z. If you do those three, you maybe don't need to do, you know, A all the way up. So I could build you a house for £100,000 you get through the regs. I could build you £150,000. This is going to be the best house ever built, you know. And it's, I think, trying to force people to do the right thing and put the right technologies in, which now we're starting to see, and that's what we want to see. Putting all these products in and that we've always been discussing will make a really good, efficient home, and that's what we need to be striving for. Take away these big homes, take away the problems we have, and find the solutions which we're hopefully presenting to you this time.
Well, maybe, as you said, the first time you've been on a panel like this is a big collaboration which needs to go on here, that you approach them all together. We need to give you a turn there, John.
So this is a really interesting point, which we sort of look at and say, why buy a Mixergy cylinder when you can buy a standard dump cylinder somewhere? We're very different because you can integrate so many more technologies. within the cylinder to actually bring the fossil fuel use down to virtually zero. You mentioned 15% of the house heat energy for hot water. The EST is saying that's going to go to as much as 25% in the future. So with the lower heat losses, hot water is becoming the dominant load on the dwelling. So we actually need to take into consideration, do you know what, that's going to be where your money's going to go for your energy. So actually, why not make it or reduce that use? There is no other product on the market that can introduce so many different technologies. And also we're finding that the confusion around, will it be hydrogen? Will it be heat pumps? Will it be direct electric? There are so many questions around our future energy use. There is no product other than Mixergy that can actually form part of that transition for a home. You buy one today and you can use your gas boiler. If the spark gap between gas and electricity drops significantly, you can actually take the gas off and just use it as direct electric, or introduce your PV. And then of course if you do transition to a heat pump in the future, there's a heat pump module. So it kind of becomes a no-brainer. And we've also been recognised in Halcyan, and there's a huge significant change to SAP. So in terms of new build, it's becoming more and more prevalent, and we'll see a lot more mixed cylinder uptake in the coming months and years ahead.
I think one of the things that's come up here is a number of people who've got accreditation under Part L and SAP and so on. And I know that's a long, hard journey. That's not an easy or cheap process. And I think we talk a lot, we use the word innovation a lot. We already have all the products we need to actually do what we need to do. Don't get me wrong, it'd be lovely to have new ones, that's super, but we have them. But actually for you as smaller products and manufacturers, getting those accreditations, getting through the process is hell. It's absolutely, it's almost designed to make you fail. And that's got to be wrong. I mean, I know we can be a bit slow catching up about the whole carbon energy conversation, and frankly, the only reason people are taking it really seriously now is because it's costing them money. It's a bit of a shame. It would be nice if we picked it up on other grounds, but you know, hey, at least it's now painful enough that people are paying attention. But there's a lot of solutions out there that can help fix this, but because of the way our system works, and we can touch on regulation and that sort of thing, it's really, really hard. There's no graduated process for processes to come in, be truthed, be tested, and be used by the public. And I think that's really hard.
Can I add, sort of practically, I mean, that is a huge impediment, and maybe one of the biggest. The other impediment I find is that when we do presentations to major contractors and consulting firms, and they say, we love your innovation, we think this is absolutely great, and we are embracing innovation, and it's our métier, we are at the forefront of the market. But can you give us 100 projects where you've been installed, please, so that we know that it will work? So I say, what do you want, innovation or a 10-year track record? Which one is it? And that can be very frustrating. I mean, we kind of over the hump, but it took a while for us to get over the hump, where we were both innovative and had some experience in terms of project references. But that can be very frustrating.
I think I can second that. I mean, we were part of Eco3, and we were one of only 5 companies which were actually granted to be tested into over 130 homes. And it was a really, really long and painful process, and you come out the other end of it and nobody knows where you need to go. So at the moment, we're part of the Net Zero cohort, which is trying to sort the system out to get good innovations through the system. Because it is, as Sam says, designed to fail. They bring out all these innovation competitions so that you're showing everybody what your new innovations are. But if there is a real desire to get those into the market, what we're suggesting is that the government should support these innovations. Call it a GSI, a government-supported innovation. And with that, you basically have all the companies that could use your product, can get it into the market, you generate cash so that you're not strapped for cash. It's going out there, you're getting real-time data. Basically, you don't need to pay for all the testing because you're actually doing it. And if it doesn't work, people aren't going to use it in the first place. But there's so many accreditations that everybody needs for different areas, and nobody really knows what you need. We're in the process of SAPs at the moment, and it's just, by the time we get out of it, there'll be changing saps and there'll be new saps that are coming in. What we've got to use is we've got to use common sense. We've got to literally go, let's use a bit of no-brainer scenarios and go, look, well, we can put these in. We can use the existing systems that we've already got, but using new innovations, new companies and startups that can't afford hundreds of thousands of pounds to do testing, which is usually done within a laboratory somewhere or in a warehouse, which is not real-time data. I mean, you can test a house and block every chimney open off in the house and leave all the windows open. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah? So everything works together, and I think sometimes there is too much red tape. And I understand you've got to do things properly, but great products, great ideas, let's use our common sense and go, look, we can do a better job. You know, it's as simple as that. I can do a better job of insulating the house by putting in Gapogroup. I can do a better job of making my heating system work by putting in water softener. Yeah? All these different things, and the insulation on the pipes. We can do a better job, and just because I'm not being told to use it, I think it's a good idea, so let's use it. And if people adopted that idea, then we'd be able to get things into systems, into projects, and everyone's a winner.
There is also a really good point on. We've all just touched on part-out and compliance for new builds. Well, that's great, but in the heating market, that's only 150,000 properties a year. And we're forgetting that there's 1.6 million boiler replacements every year. So actually, it's the retrofit market that we all need to be looking at as well, because that's where the huge numbers that we can achieve for the biggest energy saving across the piece. So it's a case of education to the installer, trying something new, and that's a really hard thing with an installer, because they don't want to change their favourite manufacturer because they've worked with them for a long time, they trust them, and it's breaking that cycle and providing that support network, making sure the installer's happy with the product, we're happy with he's happy with the quality, the repeatability of the quality, making sure the merchant has the products in stock when they're needed, so that whole end-to-end piece works for the installer. He feels confident to go into the home and say, actually, I recommend this particular product. It will save you X on your energy bill, and I can put one in tomorrow. And that process can just happen naturally, like it does today for gas boilers and all the other stuff that they fit on a daily basis.
And I think that's a really important point. We're not talking about tomorrow. The weather's already changed outside. We don't need to wait another 5 years for government to catch up with this regulation and tell us what we can and can't do. We need people to be cracking on and saving every bit of carbon they can. Well, I don't know how much your cylinder costs. I don't know how much your system costs, or ours, we might. But if you added up all of our costs, we probably wouldn't come to the cost of a heat pump. Now, if you then add up all of our cost savings and our energy savings and our carbon savings, that's quite a tidy saving on a house, and a householder can pick and choose and work their way in, but they can do it within a year or 2 years, but within a year for all of us. And it's not difficult, it's not painful. We take an hour to fit. You take how long to fit?
Around an hour, yeah.
An hour to fit. Yours goes in with the insulation. Yours takes 5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, okay.
It takes about 1 second.
So they're things which are genuinely fast, genuinely proven, and with low cost and fast implementation, householders can actually, and in commercial, but let's stick to household for now, they can actually start to crack on doing something. Then we start to win hearts and minds. Then we can win people over to say, now put your hard-earned money where we're asking you to on heat pumps. Now look at insulating the whole body of your house because you feel confident that this is worth doing. You've seen the money saving. We're going about it the wrong way. We're going for the big stuff first. People aren't buying things like that. They want the little stuff and then we win them over.
Yeah, I second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and seventh. It's all bang on the money. I think we've all. I know I've had the pleasure of sharing a stage of these two before, but I'm sure with you guys, we've seen it that the able to pay market, they're all into it. They get it straight away. They've got the money. They can do it. They want the measure because they know the long term. We're working with the social housing sector. They haven't got the money. They're cutting. So, like I say, I think we're all technically the same in terms of like, let's insulate before we generate, because these are the easy wins. Like, we can just pick these measures up, put it in play, and then whenever we've got the fabric of the building in essence correct, then start your bolt-ons, then start adding in the heat pumps. And I'm not here to piss the heat pump industry off, but we're definitely saying, look, before you all jump there, which is definitely the government's directive at the moment, we've got some wins we need to put in play first. So,
Anybody have any thoughts on yours? Got anybody, any heat pump person here in the audience? No, you didn't dare. No, any questions from anyone? No?
I think one thing that's quite important was what you mentioned before about retrofitting. So, as an example, I live in a 1930s red brick, semi-detached property in Greater Manchester, and it is the least efficient home, I think, in the northwest of England. And there's nothing in telling me I need to improve my house or how to improve my house. Yeah, we do focus on the patio for the brand new builds that all we put together, and that really is a crying shame. There's so much that could be done in a cost-effective method to making my house far better. And we should all be looking at that, not just for us. This is the installer show at the end of the day, for your customers, and speaking to various merchants and putting that across as well.
So how do you get the message to all the people that live in all the houses and all the streets in all our towns and villages and cities? How do we get that message to them?
The way I do it is at 3 o'clock in the morning, I go out the front with my bagpipes and put a lot of posters up, so when they chase me away, they see the posters.
Is that why you've got no neighbours then? No, but genuinely, I mean, who does this come down to?
Well, I think as individuals, we're all trying to use, the classics. Yes, we try and use social media. Why? Because in theory it has a good reach and it catches people's attention, and then you build on it. So we try that. But most of us don't have the sort of marketing budgets that are going to reach high volume. So you live in hope of finding one of those magic viral moments, which are as elusive as the unicorn. But it's about things like this, and then being able to promote that. But there is no product that actually reaches everybody in that way. But there are channels, there are energy companies, there are people like that, and there's also a piece in here for regulation, so that actually it has to go into the right places, that it's not an optional extra that can be left on one side, so that then when communications are going out with your bills or something else, we're actually promoting that. I'd still like to see some decent websites. There are a few out there with good advice. I don't include the Energy Saving Trust in that. Of skills, tools and products which actually really help the householder. So they exist, but we've got to find a way of connecting with people's pain or pleasure. Is it their pain of losing money? Is it their pleasure of protecting their home and getting that message across? And with a retrofit, that's the super hard one.
We found it to be very difficult to get the message out, and there is no sort of central core. We found that we do a lot of commercial work. Most of our work is commercial, not residential. And we found that even when we do a presentation to a large global mechanical consultant and they love it, it means that team loves it, not the rest of the office, not the other offices, and certainly not the other countries. So there seems to be within our client base no central communication system, which makes it even worse for us. And we have found that there are organisations, for example, like the UK Green Building Council, which for us, and they've got an innovative members section, for us has been really good in terms of getting the word out, and you can have your product listed. So we have found there are a few organisations that are very proactive in terms of getting the word out, but there's no golden bullet.
I think that's part of the problem. There are too many, how would you say, join us and join us. And there's 100 grand of joining fees. So what have I got from it, right? So, yeah.
Sorry, if I could just say about the UK, I said there are a few actually. In the UK Green Building Council, to be specific, they have an innovative small member, innovative startup membership, and they charge £105 for the year. So they've actually taken a stand to try and support what we're doing, having that sort of entry fee. But that, as you say, the others, £5 grand, 10 grand is easy. But that's why I specifically referred to the green building.
Comes back to my point earlier though, in terms of education and retrofit and all that stuff. Today we all sit in this room and we're all talking about heat pumps and boilers and all this stuff. This morning on Radio 4, Carl Unsung, Mr. Bosch was interviewed, mixed message again. It could be a heat pump. Oh, it could be a hybrid. Oh, and yeah, there'll be an element of hydrogen. So today there is too much choice. There is no fixed silver bullet. Nobody really knows where the future will take us. So actually most homeowners go, I don't know, I'm not going to buy a new boiler because I'm looking at heat pumps. I'm not going to buy a heat pump because they're too expensive. So I'm going to do nothing. And that's the worst place to be at the moment because we're actually telling so many different stories and tales about stuff to do with heat pumps and scaring people, and all that whole sort of press piece is just actually making everybody's choice so much harder. So I think, it is education and it is clarity and actually standing by the efficiency claims and benefits of the product allows you to.
So education, clarity, common sense, that all those communication, all those things that come up in every panel, everything we talked about. As we're kind of trotting towards the end of our session, if I was the unsung heroes of energy godmother, and I could just give you a wish that would come true, that would help your business and promote your products and make this a better place to be for the future, I was going to say, what would it be? What would be that, if you just had one thing, what would it be that I could offer for you?
I'll try and get my bike's losing battery. I would say maybe try and change the industry to stop it from being a race to the bottom in terms of price, where everyone's in a hurry to do everything. Let's get things right, and we won't have to go back and amend it again like we already are.
Yeah, cost should not be the lowest. Compliance at the lowest cost shouldn't be the case. It should be compliance at the right cost. But if you could wish Mixergy from a wish, it would be a Mixergy cylinder in every home. Nothing too onerous, obviously.
Just every home, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, go on.
I think mine's pretty similar as well. Is that, I think it's basically a criminal offence that no one's ever mentioned. That in the UK alone, there's over 30 million chimneys in the UK. Big holes in the roof. Nobody's been blocking off. No one's been mentioning. So, I want a Chimella in every single chimney, and I don't want people to rip their chimneys out. I want you to enjoy a fireplace. It's a central focal point of your home. But we want to make them energy efficient, and basically if you put a Chimella in there, it becomes energy efficient, and it makes the whole house become energy efficient. I think if legislation came in that Chimellas had to go in every chimney, which is what we're hoping to get, then that's a win-win for everybody, and makes every other product be more efficient.
So yes, of course, I'd love a Halcyan in all 17 million homes in the UK. That would be awesome. But actually, we're businesses, and our job is to communicate and win our spot and earn our place in the marketplace. So what I think would be really useful from government is a department that actually looked more broadly and was less swayed by solely the big players. I'd like to see a government department that was broader thinking, more imaginative and more collectively useful to all products, and then we'll fight our corner. I'll go up to Parliament, I'll do my speeches, I'll do my bit as a business owner, but I want a fair playing field to do it on. Give me a fair playing field and I'll win.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, I would like you to sprinkle your magic dust over the whole engineering community, just so that they can open their eyes and realise that simplicity doesn't necessarily mean inefficiency or not effective. Simplicity actually can be the solution. And just be aware of that opportunity.
Well, very godmother, I'd like you to encourage people to do the right thing, not the cheapest thing, not just because it passes regs, not just because it's easy to do and we've used this person before. Do what's right. Let's try and get the products in that make a big difference.
Got a girl from Polish for Wand, and I've got an awful lot of work to do.
A big one.
And a very big wand, yes. Any last comment from anyone before we close? The last message that you give to our audience and to me before you leave the stage, apart from buy your product.
Embrace new technologies.
Embrace new
Embrace new
technologies.
technologies, yeah, absolutely. For us it's so important because the two technology it's not hard, not complicated. It'll allow you lots and lots of options to carry on with other stuff. It's just easy to do it. Just believe and embrace new technologies.
Take water seriously. It's running out, and it's really valuable. We're not going to live without it. Take it seriously, whether it's cold or hot water. Take it seriously. Price it properly.
Question everything. Don't believe manufacturers' declarations. Do your own research, because as products we can all put whatever we want in literature, but look for independent testing and make sure that you do your own homework. Like I say, there's no point. I don't know whether all of our products together would work in a certain environment, but there's a right place for the right application for the right product. So just do your research and question everything.
And basically, go for the easy wins first. Go for the easy wins. You've got big holes in the roof, you've got holes in your insulation, doing your water, everything. All these simple things are not going to cost you a lot of money, but they're going to make a huge, huge difference. So, quite simply, open up to a warmer home. Da-da-da.
You need to stop doing that.
Last one.
I'm lost. My advice to the panel, actually, if I may, is obviously everyone here believes in their product passionately. So you just got to persevere, because it will happen. So just persevere, because everything I've heard here is part of the future, without doubt. So perseverance will yield results. It may be slower than you hope, but it's part of the future. It will work.
It will work. You've been stars. Thank you to all of you for your time.